Today we will be talking about the Ottoman Empire.
For starters, the Ottoman Empire reigned from circa 1300 to circa 1920s. The empire spanned across Southeast Europe, Northeast Africa, and Western Asia. It surrounded the Mediterranean Sea and was home to resources like wheat, spices, cotton, olives, and more.
Okay, the Ottoman Empire began as a small sector of what is now Turkey, but at its peak was a vast region covering a whopping 7.6 million miles. The military was able to gain more land through raiding and ransacking neighboring areas, allowing it to spread southward towards Egypt, westwards towards Arabia, and north towards Hungary. The land was made up of deserts and coasts and was generally extremely hot and dry.
Politics in the Ottoman Empire were led by leaders known as sultans. Over the course of the empire, there were a total of 36 sultans. The most famous of these was Sultan Suleiman I, or better known as Suleiman the Magnificent. His military conquest allowed them to expand into Egypt and Mesopotamia. He defeated the king of Hungary and laid an iconic siege to Vienna. Ultimately, he grew the empire and made it a huge naval force, allowing it to become a great power. For state structure, the Ottomans utilized a civilian bureaucracy, which means they employed people to work for the government, allowing the Sultan and his peers to decentralize some of the workforce. As the empire grew, these bureaucrats began to gain more and more power and started working side by side with the now weakened sultans. The process of succession was also not well regulated, which led to some disputes over leaders and opened up the position of vizier. A vizier holds high authority and basically supervises the functioning of the empire without being a sultan.
In the Ottoman Empire, families had defined roles. The women were the leaders of the household, and the men took care of everything else, such as bringing in an income to the family. Most people resided in the countryside and led average lives as farmers or merchants. Social hierarchy was very present in the Ottoman Empire. There were 5 classes. The first one was the ruling class, and this included anyone who was linked to the Sultan. These were the elites of the Ottoman society. Next was the merchant class that lived mostly freely from taxation and government control. Third was the artisan class, who lived according to guilds. The largest class was the peasant class, comprised of farmers living on leased land and leading average lives. The final group is the pastoral people, who were basically nomads who kept to themselves but swore allegiance to the Sultan. The economy in the Ottoman Empire was also an important aspect of the empire. Most people lived in rural farmlands, making agricultural trade a huge part of their economy. Because farmers were trading and making so much money, the government installed state-controlled monopolies called capitulations to give certain officials power over the production of goods in an area. This also opened the way for tax farming. For a while, these methods were successful, but as the empire grew, they led to corruption and instability because leaders could pick and choose how the trade looked during a certain time in a certain area. They also had the power to extort the merchants under their laws. As for global trade, the Ottomans were successful. Because they governed such a large region, they were able to develop well-made ports and roads, allowing trade to flourish in their society. Overall, the Ottoman Empire began with a new agrarian economic system that was well-made and worked well. As time progressed, however, and surrounding countries developed, the Ottoman Empire's economy began to fall behind. Because of the way power was delegated through tax farming and capitulations, the system became littered with corruption and was not regulated the same throughout the entire country. This led to increased prices on merchandise and lower quality productions, ultimately allowing the economy to become unstable and shaky. By the end of the empire's reign, the economy had become old and weak. The Ottoman Empire was also rich in the arts. They specialized in mediums like carpentry and calligraphy. One of their philosophies was an emphasis on social order throughout diverse communities. Turkish poetry originates from the Ottoman Empire. Music in the Ottoman Empire traditionally featured a solo singer paired with an ensemble of string and wind instruments.
Most of the Ottoman Empire fell under the Islamic religion, but it was home to people of all faiths. The Ottoman government prided themselves on being a place of peace and tolerance for diverse people, so all religious peoples were protected under the Sultan. The holy books are the writings these people followed and adhered to.
One reason the Ottoman Empire grew to be great was because of its control over trade. Because it was so large, they were able to engage in maritime trade, Silk Road trade, and trans-Saharan trade. Their economy at the start of the empire held a lot of power, allowing them to rise to power. Another reason was that the Ottoman Empire had a very organized military system. This allowed them to expand through their raids and rise to power. The final reason the Ottoman Empire was great was that they prided themselves on their peace and tolerance for people of any religion or ethnicity. The people felt protected under the rule of the Sultan, allowing them to become a largely populated world power.
One of the reasons the Ottoman Empire eventually fell was because during World War I, they fought alongside the Central Powers. After these countries lost, it gave the Allies the opportunity to divide the Ottoman Empire and help aid in its collapse. Another reason is that the empire had become too agrarian and couldn't keep up with the quick developing in Europe. The Ottoman Empire wasn't able to grow or adapt as quickly as Great Britain was, and it hurt their economy in multiple ways discussed earlier. The final reason that led to the collapse of the Ottoman Empire was its poor education. As it grew older, the population began to be undereducated as adults, leading to a decrease in able professionals, and as a result, made them slow in keeping up with countries surrounding them. As time progressed, the Ottoman Empire slowly couldn't keep up.
The Ottoman Empire and the United States have many things in common. One is their expansionist policies. Both countries at one point worked to expand their region through wars, raids, and more. Both have served as economic world powers, and finally, they are both or were home to people from all different backgrounds. The two also have some major differences. The Ottoman Empire was mainly less advanced than the United States currently is. Because of this, they weren't able to keep up with other world powers around them because they didn't have the resources or people to grow in the same way. Today, in the U.S., we have advanced farther than the Ottomans could and therefore have managed to remain a world power as we can better communicate with other countries. So will the USA fall like the Ottoman Empire did? We said it would not. This is because we've been able to keep up with other developments in other countries, and due to newer technologies from the 21st century, we can understand what's going on around us. We're not falling behind or developing slowly, and in fact, in many departments, we lead the growth. The U.S. has established itself as a current world power and will not fall in the same way the Ottomans did. These are our sources. Thank you for listening.